Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and you saw this week that that Michael Eric Dyson wrote an article in the New Republic about Cornell West that was, to say the least, I would say less than favorable. And before I really even talk about what was in the article, I want to greet my homegirl, my partner in crime, Miss Yvette Carnell. How you doing today, Yvette?
I'm doing good. How about you boys?
I'm doing really good. But I woke up sad today because I just hate the idea that Cornell West and Michael Eric Dyson are going at it. I thought that was over with. What was up with that?
I thought that was over with too. I thought, Obama is almost over with. So I really thought that, this PhD, PhDs gone wild beef was kind of over with. Black PhDs gone wild, but obviously there's still some residual resentment and condemnation, and so we're gonna do takedowns because I'm sure that Cornell West is probably gonna come through and say something else. So we're in takedown mode right now. So everybody get ready.
Like like uh like like like
Take
uh,
these these
uh
days.
remember
Take
on Immortal Technique when they would say finish him
yeah, man. Take his head off.
and
Yeah,
he rip his head out, pull out his spine. Um, that's what I saw too. I mean, this came out of nowhere. This really, it would have made sense if this was written in 2010 or 2011, but 2015. I mean, people aren't even really in that whole back and forth about Obama anymore thing. I think everybody's kind of planning for the fact that this dude's going to be out of office next year, and everybody's got to find something else to do. You see Sharpton changing his tone. A lot of the conversations that were happening a few years ago aren't happening anymore. And you were right all along. Like you always talked about reasons that we should be skeptical and what was going to kind of happen to the black leadership class as a result of the Obama presidency. But you know, I mean, I'm wondering if there was an agenda. I mean, not just a matter of it being a personal thing, but do you think that there was some sort of political thing happening here?
I don't know. I have no idea, but I honestly feel like my question that I was left with after reading this was kind of definitely like, there's got to be some behind the scenes. There's got to be some stuff going on in the background that I'm just not aware of because I don't see how this cropped up. I mean, you don't even see like even I have kind of, I haven't criticized Obama as much, not because I support him. I don't. I had never have, and I haven't supported his presidency at all. But you still see a lot of us trying to move on to the post-Obama era because we're kind of even his critics are like, this guy's not going to do anything. He's not going to help poor people. He's not going to help black people. Let's go to where the puck is going after he's gone. So it did surprise me that Michael Eric Dyson came back and kind of looped back and did what can only be looked at or viewed as sort of a takedown of Dr. West. And I'm not saying that everything in there was wrong. I mean, Dr. West really hasn't produced really good scholarship. I've heard some really good criticisms of his latest book, which was just like it's kind of fluff. It's not really much to it. Blah 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 blah. There was a lot of criticism by a lot of people when he was what was he at Harvard and made that rap album and whatever. I mean, what the heck was that? I mean, so I can't. I listen. There are some valid points, but my whole thing is why now?
Here's why I don't have a problem with what Cornell West has done over the last 10 years. Here's the reason why I would argue that he's actually done his best work over the last decade. Cornell West made a deliberate effort to leave the ivory tower to connect with the people. And the criticism that he's getting, for people that are saying, "Oh, he's less of a scholar. He's not as esteemed among us educated PhDs. We don't respect what he's been writing." But guess what? Millions of people have been reading this. Millions of people have had their lives affected when he goes out and he speaks to them about ways to see the world and ways that they can grow, ways that they can fight against these injustices that affect so many people. I saw the rap album as maybe a failed attempt to reach those masses by using the language and the power of hip hop as a way to connect with the people. You don't see a lot of these public figures going out here getting arrested like you've seen Cornell West. I think that Cornell West is the guy who just said, I've done this ivory tower bullshit for a while. This is good. I've written a bunch of research papers that a lot of people aren't going to read. For these universities that black people can't even get into. Now I'm going to go back home. I'm taking it back home, and I'm going to take what I built, what I've created, what I've become, and use that as a way to lift and elevate my people. It reminds me a little bit of a pastor who says, you know what? Okay, I've been in the church. I'm now a bishop. I've been praying with y'all for a long time. But you know what? There's prostitutes on the corner that also need me to go preach to them. There are people in the community that need me to go out and fight and protect them. There are poor children out here that need to be fed. So I'm gonna go do all these things. You can get mad because I didn't show up to church on Sunday, but guess what? I'm doing the Lord's work, and I'm doing it in ways that you can't even visualize because you're so stuck in this antiquated way of thinking. That's what I'm seeing with Cornel West. What do you think?
I'm saying that if you believe that the job of scholars is to produce scholarship, he hasn't been producing his best work. That's just like if you believe that even if a preacher, he's going out in the street, he's doing his thing. But if you believe that part of a preacher's job is to deliver a sermon on Sunday morning and he doesn't deliver that sermon on Sunday morning because he's out helping the poor or whatever, then he's still missing the mark. And the deacons are probably going to pull him aside and say, "Hey, dude, you have to preach on Sunday. This is what you got to do." So I think maybe in my mind there was a lack of balance in terms of what he was doing. And I always said Cornell was going to get in trouble by because he had a penchant for calling names. I agree that Obama is the face of empire, right? I agree, but when you start calling him the black face of empire and said that he's scared of a strong black man or whatever he said, I mean you get into this place where you're not having an argument based on ideas anymore. You're calling names. So I do think that's a fair criticism. And I do think that that's sort of the thing that kind of brought us here. When you start calling names, people start feeling a certain way. They internalize those feelings, and that's just what happens. So I think that's part of what got us here. But I think the thing that I like to focus on though is the fact that when it comes down to who was right on Obama and who was wrong on Obama, West was right and Dyson is wrong. I mean, and Dyson defends it by saying, a lot of politicians run to the, run to the left and they go to the right, and that's just what politics is. And it's like, no, like this isn't what Obama was supposed to be. That's the point. The point is that he promised hope and change, and we believed it because he was a black man who was, we thought, anchored in a black African American tradition, and that's why. That's why we don't just feel betrayed. That's why we have been betrayed in this Obama thing. If he was just a white guy, going in there and a white Republican or one of these centrist center right Democrats, it'd be okay. But we thought that this guy was centered in like what the history of what it means to be black in the world, not just America. And as it turns out, he's just like everybody else. That is a betrayal, and there's no other way to put it.
Well, I can't disagree with you at all on that because I think that, what people will say, and I think even the most ardent Obama supporters are now to the point where they don't really have much to really utilize to defend him, other than the fact that they just love him because he's a black man occupying this office. But I've heard a lot of them say, well, why are you being hard on him because he's just doing what presidents do? Well, that's fine. Okay, so that means he is a darker version of a Bill Clinton or whatever. Okay, I accept that. But if that's what you are, then that's what I'm going to treat you as you are. You know what? That's how I'm going to respond to you. I'm not going to respond to you like you are the black messiah, that you are somehow different and better than these other white guys in Washington doing the same thing. Because remember, Obama's just as white as he is black, and skin color. Not that that matters one way or the other, but the fact is that yes, he is just another American president, and that's what his legacy should be. It shouldn't be connected to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and you have these images that are connecting him to all these prophetic figures in Black history. He doesn't deserve to be there. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be there. That's the funny part too. We've projected this onto him, and he didn't want it. He was willing to take it because we were willing to support him like he was the second coming of Jesus or whatever. But the fact is that he's just another politician. If you treat him that way, I have no problem with that. But when you get to the point where you engage in this ridiculous hero worship, it just ends up looking silly. And I think that what bothers me about this divide between West and Dyson, two men that I love and respect so much, is that when we allow this power divide coming from the white power structure, it's predominantly white, even though our president's only half white. What it does is it drives a wedge in black leadership, a deliberate wedge. They created this wedge on purpose because they said if we get Jesse fighting with Al, Dyson fighting with West, and all these divides in the black community, they're not going to be able to come together to agree on anything. They're not going to come together to fight us on anything because they're going to be so busy fighting each other that they're not going to be able to really challenge us. And if you listen to the rhetoric over the last several years, what have people been saying when it comes to the black agenda? They consistently say, well, how can black people have an agenda? They haven't brought anything to the president. They don't have a black agenda. But you've had people consistently, if you listen to Jesse Jackson's radio show, for example, over the last 7 years, who, and by the way, on his show, he never says a critical word about Obama. He doesn't get into all of that. If you listen to his show, he's consistently stated repeatedly the same agenda over and over and over again, but nobody listens because the White House deliberately froze Jesse Jackson out for the very reason that I speculate, which is that they didn't want to have to deal with the black community. They only wanted to pay off a couple of people so that they would take the president's message to the people and use the black community to get votes, but not offer much of anything in return. And that's pretty much what's happened in the Obama era, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, I remember I heard Al Sharpton say a while ago. This has been some months ago, maybe a year or so ago. He said, the black. I hear a lot about the black agenda, but black people haven't really brought an agenda to Obama. And I'm like, dude, that's you.
You were sitting at the table with the president. Are
Yes,
you serious?
I mean, you love to pretend that you are the racial spokesperson of the black community, but then when you get in there, you're like, I don't know what to say. It's just amazing to me. But there was another part in the thing which
Hold,
said that.
hold that thought, please. I gotta interrupt. Normally I love you and I never interrupt you, but I gotta say that the reason that you don't feel like there's a black agenda, when you're Al Sharpton, the reason that you haven't been able to get anything out of these meetings is very simple. You work for the president. I mean, let's just break it down. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
he works for the president. There has
yeah,
been, there's direct compensation when he shows up at your conference every year, and suddenly Nan is out of debt and doing really well, and you're getting all these opportunities. You're on MSNBC because somebody's hooking you up. You work for the president. Let's just be
yeah,
clear. And
yeah.
and again, there's nothing wrong with working for the president. Thousands of people work for the president. But you're a civil rights leader who is working for a politician, and that's what people need to see it as.
Yeah,
See it
there's
as.
nothing
Stop
wrong.
trying to
There's
play
nothing
both
wrong
sides
with
of the
that.
fence. Go ahead. I'm gonna
There's
shut
nothing
up
wrong.
now.
No, no,
I
no.
get
I'm
it.
saying I'm agreeing with. There's nothing wrong with working for the president. There's something wrong with pretending that you don't work for the president when you do, and that's the problem that we have with Al Sharpton. And I think even when I look when I read the Dyson piece, he actually mentioned at a point, there was a bellhop. And Dr. Cornell West was upset that the bellhop had a ticket to inauguration and he didn't, and that was sort of elitist. And I was like, no, he feels that he's done things for the president that the bellhop hasn't done. Like you can't make an argument about, oh, he's elitist, or he feels like the bellhop, the working man, shouldn't have a inauguration ticket. That's not what was happening there. Now he does go on and say that, well, the president, Cornell West kept calling the White House from block numbers, he says, and nobody could get in contact with him, which I just found that was just the oddest part to me. I'm like, really? Is that what happened?
So
Like, is that
so y'all knew how to get in touch with him when he went out and did those 65 campaign speeches for y'all. Y'all didn't have no problem catching up with him then, but then suddenly the White House. Think about this.
nobody knew?
The federal government's like, we don't know. We screen every call that goes through the entire system. The NSA records and tracks every single phone call that's ever been made. But yet we couldn't find Cornell. We didn't know his
Yeah, we
number
don't
was.
know nobody. We don't know nobody. Cornell. I know anybody knows Cornel West. I mean, I don't know. Do you know the man? I don't know. But I mean, it was just. I mean, I was like, is that the story now? Is that the story that we're going with? That like nobody could contact Cornel West? It's just. I mean, it's just the weirdest thing.
I was gonna pull up my cell phone and show people that Cornell West's phone number is in my phone. So if I can get in touch with Cornell West, then I assume that the president can get in touch with Cornell West. I mean,
Or the president could have
that's
got in
just
touch with
crazy to
you
me.
and got in touch. The president could have got in touch with you, and you would have got in
Right.
touch.
Yeah,
Cornel West.
yeah, but hey, brother Obama, if you need to call Dr. West, give me a call. I got his number. I can send it to you. No, but in all seriousness, that statement about the bellhop was kind of weird. It was almost like a spun kind of a story to kind of say, yeah, he must be elitist because he was upset because the bellhop had a ticket and he didn't. But I think that Cornel West's track record of, in my opinion, doesn't reek of any kind of elitism. It's actually stellar to the point that I consider Cornel West to be the greatest black leader of our time in terms of the magnitude of his profile, the way he's used his power. These other characters, it's like to me, Cornel West is Michael Jordan. These other guys are Barkley and Patrick Ewing and all the guys that Jordan had to dunk over in order to achieve his greatness. Excuse me. So I think Dyson is a great man in his own right. I would just love to have him, and maybe he can come on here and talk to us. He's always welcome. Man. Every time he texts me and gets mad about what we talked about, I always tell him, well, you can come on and you can talk. Well, and he does, he never responds after that. But I hope one day he'll come in and explain himself. But I think that this article just seems weird to me. It was so long. I mean, how long did it take you to get through it? About 8 hours?
Oh, child, took like at least 30 minutes. I think.
He should really retitle the
And I
article
don't
like
mind long
he should
form.
call it
I don't mind
War
long
and
form at
Peace.
all.
What'd you say?
See, I don't mind long form at all. I read a New Yorker article all the time, but I did. Yeah, it was a long piece. It was in there, and I just like I said, the thing for me, the thing that really bothers me, and I'll just close with this and let you have the last word today. The thing that really bothers me about this whole thing is really that we've gotten into this false. The black community is at this false place now. Like we had this false debate, W.E.B. Du Bois versus Booker T. Washington, which was really a false debate. And I don't want to get into that. But now we're in this false debate of Dyson versus Cornel West, as if they are the only black scholars out there. And the thing that really bothers me is the I have black scholars on my Facebook page who don't get any attention, who make cogent arguments about all sorts of things. But now we're into these two people as if they are the only preeminent black scholars that we have, and it's just not true. And I just wish we would, and I'm going to do more, and to promote the people who are saying, who are offering other perspectives that I also think need to be out there.
Well, I'll say my last word is that, as a person who believes deeply in the importance of black media ownership, I become very disturbed internally when I see big white media outlets paying black public figures to attack each other in public. I compared it to the battle between Biggie and Pac, where these white-owned media outlets were basically pitting them against each other and
Mhm.
allowing them to fight through the media to the point where people were picking sides, and ultimately both of them ended up getting killed. So Biggie and Pac were both the losers, and the only winners were the people who own these outlets. And people think it's silly to compare West and Dyson to Biggie and Pac, but it's a perfect comparison because scholars, especially black public intellectuals, a lot of them are educated rappers. I mean, that's why Cornel West made a hip hop album. That's why Dyson constantly raps when he gives speeches, because there's a consistency there in terms of how the message is delivered, and just the style and the flow of what you do. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying it because that's what it is. You can't really talk to the black community, especially black men, without really addressing the village of hip hop. I talk about hip hop all the time. So my point, at the end of the day, is that I'm just not really going to keep getting into this. The article came out. I hope Dr. West doesn't respond to this, but I think that he might. And I just think that we have to get to the point where we are focused more so on fighting for the issue and not fighting against each other. How much do we have to say about what's really happening in our community, the violence, the poverty, the high unemployment rate, the lack of black business ownership, lack of access to capital, all these other things, mass incarceration. Let's talk about that. If we could talk about that, let's fight over that. So I don't really know. I feel like this article, to me, it just kind of reminded me of that stuff I would see in the ivory tower, where it was like, okay, you did this beautiful, eloquent thing, but sometimes it can almost come off a little bit like what we used to call in academia, we used to call it mental masturbation, where
Mhm.
basically it's like, I'm going to show you how smart I am and how eloquent I am by writing all these complex ideas with using words I don't really need to use, but I'm going to show you these words because I want you to think I'm smart. And then when you're done, you've had this experience, uh, but it hasn't really done much of anything for anybody other than me in my career. And that's something that I know it happens in academia, but I don't go for that pretentiousness. So that's all I want to say. So it's good
Oh,
talking to you, Yvette.
you too.
And
Yeah,
thank you for letting me be long-winded. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
that's fine. That's great.
Lord knows I ain't trying to get on the bad side of Yvette Carnell. I would say she will fuck you up, but I don't cuss. All right, Yvette. Well, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. And by the way, everybody, we have a new film coming out called Resurrecting Black Wall Street. I hope you will take a look at the trailer. The trailer's at resurrectingblackwallstreet.com. It's all about the Black Wall Street atrocity that happened in 1921 and how we can resurrect the ideas of black economic empowerment that led to the creation creation of one of the greatest black communities of all time. So please check it out, resurrectingblackWallStreet.com. Until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. And oh, by the way, go to Yvette's website. It's breakingbrown.com. And I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.